Hi Nelly, can you hear me?
Hi, Chris. I can hear you, but there's a lot of background noise.
Uh-huh.
It's not really noise, but I think the wind is blowing past your
Oh,
nini, your
my earpods.
microphone. Oh yeah, and also I think you could try hapo kwa MacBook. You could try to do voice isolation. Maybe
Let me see.
yeah, but I can hear you, but it's just like the wind is just blowing past your earpods.
Let me try and disconnect them and see if that helps. I can just use like the MacBook speakers.
Okay, okay.
Can you hear me now well and clear? Can you still hear me? Can you still hear me well?
Yes, I can hear you now. I think now the wind is kind of gone now. Your
Sawa
voice is
sawa, no,
better.
no worries, thanks.
All right. So I think we can start. So good evening, everyone. GM everyone, and welcome back to our third session in this series. So over the last two sessions, we have been building something here together. We started with what is best batches 003, who is it for, what's possible for you. And then the last session, we brought in David Machuche from Nedepe, and he gave us his story, what it takes to compete globally, what building in public actually means. And yeah, and why just being from Africa is actually a differentiator and not, something that it's not an obstacle. So tonight, I think we're going to shift gears completely and we're going to make it technical. And I think uh, I've always said that, the gap between a good idea and a fundable product is not creativity. I think it's infrastructure. So because, people at best batches, they're looking for something, they're looking at what you're building, they're looking at how you built it, and they want to see if you understand the basic ecosystem natively and not that just you and not that you deployed a contract and you did this and that. Yeah, they want to see if you understand the basic ecosystem correctly and all. So tonight we're gonna looking at some things, and one is, what technical foundations must your product actually have, and then two is, what should every serious builder on base get right before you ship your product, and three, how do you now structure your stack properly using the base docs and all from the very start, so you don't have to rebuild everything later because things are breaking. So they were going to be looking at on-chain kit, base account, smart wallet, paymasters. I think those are really, really important. And I think base names.
Yeah.
And I know for most people right now, maybe on-chain kit and all those things I'm saying might sound very unfamiliar. But I think at the end of this session, we're going to make them familiar for you. So yeah, I don't know if Chris, you want to start, but I could always just touch on something and maybe on-chain kit and all of that. Let me just start verbally, and then Chris might just show you around. So we have on-chain kit. Let me share my screen. Just a moment. You guys, you can see my screen. Hi, Chris.
I can see your screen.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
So I wanted to talk about um, Content So Content is just the base official React component library. So it gives you some pre-built production ready components for everything a base app needs. So if you need wallet connection, if you need identity display is for like for base name. If you need transaction, swap, checkout with base pay, which is a one tap for USDC payment. NFT minting. So it just gives you everything. It's just a library that has all of that. And I think the tagline, I saw the tagline in the document say that ship in minutes and not weeks. So it just makes it easier for you to ship stuff. So, for example, if someone is going to review your product, a technical reviewer, they're going to look at if you have integrated these base products, they're going to see these base native patterns. And then on-chain components, on-chain kit components are what those patterns look like. And yeah, so for you to install on-chain kit, there's a quick start guide over here. As you can see, if you're building a mini app, this is the command. If you just want an on-chain web app, this is the command over here. But yeah, so it's just one command, and this scaffold is it's like a full Next.js app with on-chain kit pre-configured, and you don't have to do any zero configuration. So it has some very important components. So let's go to that probably you need. So it has the wallet component. It should be here. So it has the wallet component. So it has like a drop-in wallet connect. So it just handles automatically for smart wallets. I think Chris is going to touch on what smart wallets are, and even the traditional wallets that we have, which are EOA, like MetaMask, Coinbase wallet. We also have the identity component over here. The identity component just shows your base name, your avatar, and any address for the connected wallet. And then we have the transaction.
Sorry, Nelly, we can't see
Yes.
the other. Okay, okay, now I can see it. I think it twitched for a while, but it's okay.
Okay, so did you guys see this? It was like blank.
I think we didn't see the details of the identity component, so maybe you can just
Oh,
click on
okay,
it.
okay. Oh, yeah, here's the identity component. Yes, as you can see, has identity, address, avatar, badge. So for identity, ni mambo za base names, it's everything with base names. So if you want to display the user's address, their avatar, a badge, and then you can also display them as an identity card, which does all of them. The name, the socials, because your base name has when you're setting up a base name, you can set it up with even socials as well. So yeah, and then we have a transaction component which just handles full transaction lifecycle, and it has a status UI which is built in. And then we have a swap component as well. So we have transactions, we have I think we also, yeah, here's the swap component as well. So as you can see, it just provides a comprehensive interface for users to execute token swaps. So if you want your users to swap tokens from USDC to another token, this is the right component to use. We have a checkout and fund. Honestly, you could always go through these components and see which your app is going to require. But I think on-chain kit is one very important thing that you have to have in your app. And then when you download the scaffold, you see something called the on-chain kit provider. This provider is like the foundation. Yeah, this is like everything that it orchestrates everything from your API key, your chain. You maybe want to do base Sepolia or base, your config things like Paymaster. Chris is going to touch on Paymaster and maybe show you how to set it up on CDP. So even before I go on, make sure you have a CDP account. Just go to portal.cdp.coinbase.com. I think, let me just show you. Uh-huh. Yeah, portal.cdp.coinbase.com. So you need to have an account. Set your account. This is where you're gonna get an API key, because when you're setting up the scaffold, it will need an API key. So I don't know why mine is not showing. I have to sign in. Okay, I think Chris might show you guys that step, but yeah. And then we have something else. Just a moment. Yeah, the on-chain kit provider and all. And then we have another thing that is very important is the base accounts and smart wallets. So I think these are like the biggest upgrade to your for the UX of your users. It's the biggest UX upgrade you can give your users. So for example, I think we've all hit a problem where I want to do something, but I need it for gas. So you have to go get it for gas, maybe go to an exchange, buy the ETH, and you trying to do this action on chain, but you still need ETH for gas. So at some point, it's very it loses me and I lose interest. So this is why I think we have a Web3 retention problem. So smart wallets are, I think there's some of the, it's one of the solutions to this problem. So I know maybe most of us don't know about this, but there's something called traditional wallets like EOA and then versus smart wallets. So for the EOAs, we have MetaMask. The one for the EOAs, it's the traditional one. You have a private key, and if you lose that private key, you lose all the money, you lose everything. And you always need the gas for the native token. And for example, if you have to do any action, you have to do a manual signature. But for smart wallets, the good thing is that they're programmable. They're accounts that are programmable. So it's a smart contract that acts as your wallet. So it doesn't have a seed phrase. So you log in with a passkey. Either you have a fingerprint or a face ID or a touch ID. It enables gasless transactions. So your app can pay gas via Paymaster. Again, Chris is going to show you that. It can also batch transactions. If your users are doing some similar multiple actions, you don't have to pay for gas fees for each of them. You can batch them into one transaction and pay gas fees for that, which is way cheaper and affordable. And then for smart wallet, you can recover them using social features. Like, you don't have to lose access forever. And that's a good thing about smart wallets. And then the other thing that I wanted to touch on is Paymaster, which is gas sponsorship. So this just kind of removes the biggest barrier to user adoption. A Paymaster is just a smart contract that pays gas fees on behalf of your users. So your app, so you as a developer, you're gonna set up the Paymaster. You're either gonna fund it or you're gonna get some free credits from CDP. So your user never has to hold ETH to interact with your product. So all the swaps, all the actions, they're gasless. So you pay or you incur the cost for a specific actions, a specific action. Hmm. And then the last thing is base names and on-chain identity. So I think I talked about base names. So base names are just human readable names for wallet addresses. Like for example, you have a long string of OX, this and that. Or you could assign yourself a base name. Mine is shamao.base.eth. I think Chris is chris.base.eth. So it's just a human readable alternative to your address. It's built on ENS tech. It's deployed on Base and it's fully on chain. And I think base names are multi-chain by default. So if you get your best yourself a base name, I think Chris is going to show you where you can get a base name and set it up. Some are very cheap, very very cheap to get. And then yeah, I think that's all. I don't want to just keep talking. Maybe at the end of it, I might just sum it up with some of the things that you need. But I think Chris might just show you now the technical side of things, how to set things up, where to get your API key, your Paymaster URL, and all the things that you need to do. And I think maybe for mini apps, we can have like a separate session for that because that mini apps are also quite something on their own. So yeah, Chris, you can just take it over.
Yeah, thank you so much, Nelly. I think that was pretty much detailed and
Yeah.
also informative. I think just as Nelly has mentioned, we have a lot in terms of how you can give your users a premium touch, a premium experience within your app. And I think that's so much important in terms of making sure that you have good user retention and making sure that you always get valuable feedback for your mini app or for your app on chain. And I think just to start us off, we can check out first of all Coinbase developer platform just to have a general overview of what it is, how it can help us abstract all our user flows, and get to do things like sponsoring users gas fee, getting to have one RPC URL to control everything with regards to Paymaster, with regards to Enchain Kit, with regards to CDP embedded wallets. So I think let me just go ahead and share my screen so that we check it out. Yeah, so I think you can see my screen. Um, Please let me know when once it's up. Nelly, can you see my screen?
Not yet, not yet.
Okay, I think Jenny, can you help us out in terms of sharing my screen? I think it's up on my end. Let me try again. Can you guys see my screen? Yeah, it's now up. It's now up. Awesome.
Yeah, yeah, we can see it. Yeah.
Generally, what CDP is think about it as the same way we use GitHub generally to do like deployments, to do like having it act as a backup for most of our projects that we do in the Web2 space. It's the same way Coinbase Developer Platform actually advocates for guys who are building on chain, builders who want to come up with premium touches and like all these good use experiences within the base ecosystem and generally within like the Coinbase ecosystem in terms of shipping apps that people can use outside base. So you can easily get RPC URLs that you can use to control multiple events within your app. And I think the most common and the most crucial one is the Paymaster tool that CDP offers, and plus the additional credits that they give up to $500 worth of credits for sponsoring your users gas fee, which is actually a lot when you try to like calculate the amount of user gas fee that averagely even someone who is doing like $100 to $1,000 can do. The maximum amount of gas fee that you can like get is less than even $1. So I think that's quite a lot in terms of credits. So I think this is a huge opportunity for for everyone who is trying to like introduce all these touches within their app and ensuring that users still experience that Web2 sort of feeling while they're interacting with your app. So I think just straight on, I'll go ahead and show us first of all how to use one API key to access various on-chain kit components. So let me just go ahead and see what's okay. So I think one other thing that I didn't mention is also CDP doesn't only offer APIs. It also has got access to like free faucets that you can use to deploy and test your apps. That is in terms of if your app does actually intend to help people in terms of farming, let's say some tokens every single day, and you want to ensure that various events are happening within your UI, and the process is actually seamless. So you can use some testnet tokens, some testnet funds from within CDP, and this is how you can make a request to get some to test your app. Um, so just click on the faucet option. You'll get a variety of options. So you can either request for Sepolia, Ethereum Sepolia, Ethereum OD, or Solana DevNet. Um, and then you can also specify the kind of token that you'd want to interact with. If it's USDC on base, CBTC, that is like Coinbase wrapped Bitcoin, ERUC, and generally ETH on base. So just request, let's say, this is my address. Let me just pick a random address that I can find. Um, Let me try and get my MetaMask address. Let me share this tab. Yeah, so quick fast, I'm gonna pick my wallet address. Let me just say receive. So going back to where we were on CDP, trying to share like these other tabs. So just click on send to this address, and then you paste the address that you'd want to receive your testnet funds, and then you just click on claim the claim button, And then after a while, like in like 10 or 15 seconds, you should be able to see your your wallet balance, I mean, already updated, and you can now use the funds to test various events within your UI. For Paymaster, we have this particular drop down. I can call it a drop down because it's a card that's displaying other components within it. So the base master option, once you click on it, like for example, you can see how my performance has been for from January, I guess, from January 25th of this month all the way to February 24th. So I think this is the highest month that we got to sponsor, like the highest amount of USDC. So we dished out like around $1.9. That's of course 1.9 USDC that went outside just to sponsor users gas fee, and that was the highest ever. So I think you can see if Coinbase is offering you $500 worth of credits just for sponsoring your users gas fee, then that can take you even close to like 1 or 2 years, just like doing transactions back and forth, and still you can use that. But I think once those are exhausted, you can have like a paid subscription now, where you can just request for some sponsorship from Coinbase in return for what you pay now. Um, so what happens is you have to now navigate to the configuration tab, where you get to choose whether you want to test your gas sponsorship, either is it on mainnet or is it on testnet. So if you're using testnet funds, then I think it's great if you can test using base testnet Tempolia, and then you'll get a different RPC URL that you can use to test within Tempolia. But now, assuming we were to be doing this um, on the mainnet side, you just change the drop down to base mainnet, and then once that is set up, you can just enable the paymaster option to be live. So that means you want it to begin like action as at this point. So you just enable the paymaster toggle, and then once that's set up, you need to now also allow some you just configure it, like some contract addresses that you want to be called and you want to be referred to while like guys are minting this contract that sponsors the users gas fee. So maybe we can just call it Base East Africa, and then our contract address, let me just use my wallet address. Any function that you have, you can just say, let's say mint. So you have to be so specific to this function, because this is what will be called to ensure that the RPC URL that you have plus the interaction that's needed between the user and your contract is successful. So if it's means function, let's say sponsor gas, then this is the function that's going to be called within your contract. And then once it's invoked as at that time, invoked I mean as at that time, then the process will now be successful. So just say add. And just give it a simple function now that's still having issues. Okay, I think I don't have like an active function, so we can just see what we had here. So we just use this, then come back and just rename it this East Africa, and then paste in the contract address that you have. For my case, I'm just gonna use my wallet address. Just paste this here, and then for the other function, come on, man. ideally it should be a function that's within your contract, so that when that RPC call is made, it calls that function within your contract, and then the gas sponsorship now begins. I think another important thing that's also like really vital in terms of paying customer is the maximum amount that you want to be sponsored within the gas credits that you have. So let's say for this particular month you want to sponsor maximum of, let's say, $20. That's what you come over and then highlight within this policy, and then under it we have the global limit. So just say for this month I only want to spend 500 USD worth of my credits, and then by user you'd want to say the maximum amount of gas that you'd want to sponsor is, like, let's say, $5, and then the maximum number of user operations that this user is allowed to do within your app is like $1,000, 1,000 times a day. And then the limit cycle, you can limit this to, if you have like people who are doing like 10 to 20 transactions, like 10 to 20 transactions every day, then that means you can restrict them, let's say, on a daily basis. If not, you have like averagely users who are doing like 2 to 3 transactions every single day, then you can just have it at monthly. But if it's past 10, 20 times, or even 10 times in a day, you can talk of weekly. Yeah, I think that's pretty clear. And then another important marketing bit that's you should really take advantage of is this tagline that you have to like just declare at some point. So if you want to say that this is what the user should be seeing while they are initiating their transaction, so that they know who is sponsoring their gas. So when you tell them that $0.08 is saved, then they should be able to see who did the sponsorship for this particular transaction. So that's where you now market your brand, or you market your product and say it's been sponsored by Minisend, it's been sponsored by WiFiProof, by Basis Africa. And then I don't really think this is a must. You can say you'd want to sponsor only users who are like Coinbase verified. So only verified users by Coinbase will be having like their transaction sponsored. But I feel like this can be a targeting, a sort of like a marketing sort of like um, way in which you don't want to like tap into users who are verified by Coinbase, get quality users, quality customers who can drive volumes on your app, and then introduce this particular feature for them. So you say, if you're a Coinbase user and you're verified and you want to try out Minisend, then I'll be sponsoring your users gas fee for the next 6 months. So that can easily work if you're someone who like you want to do strategic marketing for your product. So for this particular toggle option, you can just do that. Maybe if you want to unlock users from from a particular niche, I mean. Um, on the trading side, there's like trading APIs, there's staking APIs that you can use, and then I think one other place that I didn't really start off from, because we are starting off with Brainmaster, is how to create an API key, which is really important. So the reason as to why also we just saw it fit to start with CDP is like the backbone of every single component that you're gonna be using, or every single tooling that you're gonna be using on base. So how to create an API key? It's quite straightforward. You just need an API key name, Basis Africa, and then some API restrictions that you should also check. So if your app is gonna be like helping in terms of trading between tokens, swapping between tokens, let's say minting some contracts, and then these guys get to be dropped some tokens at the end of the day or at the end of that session, then you can go ahead and check the options trade and initiate transfer of funds. After that's checked up, you can easily now go ahead and create that API key. You need to do a 2FA. This like it's a security step, just to ensure that you are the owner of that account and you don't really have um, like you have total access to that account or full access to that account. So let me see if I can complete my 2FA on my side. Yeah, I can use my laptop. Yeah. already have our two API keys. One is the API key ID, and the other one is the API key secret. So for the API key secret, that's like the most vital bit of this. So that's what you pick, and then include it within your .env file. And for the API key ID, yeah, times is also needed. It's also needed when making calls via OnChainKit. You need to go ahead and call it at some point when you want to initiate a transaction, let's say using the transaction component by OnChainKit. So once you have it, you can just say, I've saved my API key, or you can download the JSON file so that you can just store it for future references, just in case you've lost, let's say your backup on GitHub, you've lost access to your GitHub organization, you can always go back and check out your API key. So just say I've saved my API key, and then that's it. So you already have one API key that you can use for close to all operations on base. And then for business APIs, I've never touched on or rather tried out business APIs, but you can easily use it for trading and payments for startups. Um, there's also one way you can do it is you can also use it for Coinbase Commerce, which is accepting crypto payments, majorly using Base Pay and accepting USDC payments on Base. Institutional APIs, these are more of like B2B. On the B2B side of things, Coinbase Exchange, direct access to our US port exchange and market data. So I think you can see this is more of B2B side of things. So if you're building something that's around this, then it can be great if you can go ahead and explore these various functions within institutional APIs. Yeah, so primarily, of course, when you'll be visiting CDP, you'll have to create an account, and then within that account, you'll now be able to create various other projects under that account. So I think pretty much that's it for Coinbase Developer Platform. Let me just share a way in which you can set up an account for yourself. A link to Coinbase Developer Platform. You can use the same link. You can generate yourself also a referral link, so that you can be also like get these incentives while the reward programs are still up. So I'll just drop the URL under this live conversation, and then you guys will give us feedback next week if you successfully manage to create your accounts or not. Because I think next week we'll be covering something to do with mini apps and how to build successful mini apps on Farcaster and on BaseUp, the kind of requirements that are needed and the kind of setup options that you have. So yeah, that's it pretty much for CDP. I think we can now go in and check out how you can easily now set up this in terms of your code base. If setting this up on your .env file, knowing how to run the various commands to set up on ChainKit, and then using the various components also within on ChainKit, which I think Nelly touched on when we are starting off. Nelly, do you have any addition, anything that I might be forgetting that probably want to touch on?
No, 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 not really. I think for this, for CDP and Paymaster, I think your app has to have maybe a minimum one Paymaster sponsored flow, because you don't want people to be like, oh, I don't have it to pay for this, so they leave the actions. And remember, for the first session we talked about loops within your app, so that users can even go from start to finish. And yeah, just make sure that you're sponsoring gas fees for your users. I think that's very important. And for Base Epolia, I think to get unlimited credit. And I think now for Base Mainnet to get $500 worth of that. Yeah, so it's very important.
Awesome. So I think I want to revisit like some couple of projects that we did for last year's base batches 002, so that we see the various implementations that we had in place, and so that also you guys can just check it out at the end of the session if possible, also raise a BR request for any sort of errors that you might have noticed, something that you'd want improved. You can easily also share that with us so that we get to see. So, quick first, I just want to try and locate um, our GitHub. And I think as we do that, you can also drop. I think we can also like get some couple of questions before we wind up. I know we are like still a couple of few minutes away, but if you have any questions regarding Paymaster, maybe something to do with how to get it within the best documentation, you can just drop it within the chat so that we also cover it while you're still there. Nelly, you can. I don't know if you can still access our GitHub, like the link. Yeah, I
Oh,
just
yeah. Have you got it? Okay, fine.
yeah, yeah, nice. I just got it. So I think I can just check on the one we did for Ochenkit Wallet Infra, the mini demo. Uh-huh. I can just make like a clone of it and then see how that goes. So generally for Ochenkit components, we have like various and tons of them. So it likely depends on what you'd want to use them for. Um, for this particular demo, let me just check what we have on the app side. Um, the components that we have. Yes, I think this was a technical session around Paymaster demo. So ideally, if you check the kind of code that we are having here, of course, you can notice that we had some hooks from the on-chain kit, npx command. That's the npm package. So this calls some of the on-chain kit functionalities and tools like minikit, and then within minikit you can still use now the on-chain kit components that you are thinking of using on the web app side. So I think when you are starting off our intro session last week, we talked about mini apps and we said mini apps are more of like widgets within other apps, or just an app within another app that still runs and operates fully without any sort of technical issues. Or if there is, then I think it's quite rare. So what happens is these apps can still call functions outside even the hosting application that they are on. Like for example, Minisend can still make transaction or RPC calls outside Farcaster or outside BaseApp and still run and do transactions. So just straight on to what you are doing here, you can realize or you can see that this was just more of like a Paymaster demo component. We had some couple of form fields at this section. I'm trying to see where we introduced some functions. Yeah, yeah, of course. So you can see where we were trying to like make some wallet send calls. So this was largely a component that was used to initiate a transaction. So first off, I think we can just follow the comments that we have. So I think first off we have like some form fields, and these form fields, what they do in the background is they detect the transaction type, and then it sets that for the backend, and then using React states, React hooks like use state functions, it's able to call the transaction type function within React, and then have it as declare it as native, and then another form field just specify on the recipient and the recipient information, that is like more of on their wallet address, if it's a wallet ID that we need, or just a wallet address. And then on the amount side of things, it's basically just what kind of amount would you want to like process, 10, 5, $1. the token address, still using the useState function. So it calls the base Sepolia token address because we are using testnet funds, so testnet tokens. For the contact address function, so these are constants within this whole program. So of course you just have it fixed to a particular address. So that's why they're being called within these particular functions and constants. So for example, you can see for this particular contact address under base Ebola, we were calling this specific contact address. And then for function data, and the set function data, it was, I think this is more of like just controlling what's now being sent on the next page, which is the validation page or the validation status event. Um, so afterwards, we check for if at all there's any error. This is the constant that handles all the errors on the UI or on the client side. And then afterwards, it detects the type of wallet on mount. So if it's a basement account, it will be able to detect that. If it's a Farcaster wallet, it will be also able to like detect that as well. So after that, it uses the use effect. So the use effect hook is a React hook that's just it's majorly helps in terms of detecting various events within the UI. So, for example, for this function, we were trying to like get to know which kind of wallets we're interacting with, the kind of providers in the background. If it's Ethereum providers that we'll be using, then it should be able to help us identify that. And then we also have like the use callback hook and the use callback function. So this majorly helps in terms of validating the form, whether all the contents within the form that you are trying to like build. You can see we had like all these constants for the form field, and then you'll get to see down here we have a return function where we now get the design of these various form fields now on the UI. So for someone who understands React or is much conversant with Next.js, you can easily understand where we are now. Um, so after validating the form, we of course still track the transaction types, the amount that we have, some of the errors within this process, whether we have like an invalid token address pasted or an invalid wallet address pasted. So you can see these are the kind of errors that will be thrown on the UI side. We have invalid amount, invalid recipient address, invalid contract address, invalid function data. So whatever we were discussing before, these were just basically the functions that will be there to make sure that we're calling the right assets or the right resources from the backend. So yeah, next up is we have lots of try constants from this other past validation that we had. So on the validator form area, afterwards trying to know if everything is correct, and we've already like set everything to be constant within this whole program. There's a constant function which uses a use callback function, and then for all async functions, they try to know or try to like find out what's happening on the UI. So if the wallet address is connected, and if it's not connected, then it will tell the user to please connect their wallet first. So you can see it talks about setting the status to please connect your wallet first before making a transaction, or please fix form errors before submitting. So that means if at all any of the constants that we had declared before was not met, then this is what will be shown to the user. And if the user has not connected their wallet, so that we detect it by ourselves using the use effect function, then we'll tell them to please connect their wallet. So I hope everyone is like understanding how the flow is and how the program is running. And then we now prepare this transaction to be sent on chain. And so we have various loading states within the UI. So one is set is loading. So we can only set this to be true if all the various events or the various functions, actually the functions that were declared were met and everything was correct. So we say set is loading to be true, which is basically Afterwards, we have a provider that tries to test the kind of a provider function, I mean, which is of course a constant that tries to know whether a provider was set from the beginning. So I think we mentioned something on the Ethereum provider. So majorly we have MetaMask utilizing this, even basement accounts, all the wallets that we interact with on Ethereum, they all rely on the Ethereum provider using their various RPCs to make sure that transactions are sent, I mean, on Ethereum network. So once that is like we have like an if else function. So if provider is not there, then we'll throw a new error to the UI that says no Ethereum provider found. Up next is, so we have like the target address, the transaction data, and the transaction value. So we prepare the transaction further based on the type which we had mentioned. So whether it's native or it's outside, if it's outside the native tokens that we have on base. Um, and then now for the most important bit that I wanted to touch on is now where we do the wallet send call to now go ahead and also call the paymaster URL endpoint, which is basically just the paymaster RPC URL that we had got from CDP. So what happens is, of course, you have to talk about the version that you're running. Sorry, the version that you're running, the address that you're trying to send like funds from, the target address. You can see what's happening here. We have the from address, we have the target to address, and then also we have the transaction data and the value. And then on the capabilities param, we have the paymaster service, which also has got a param inside it, which calls the RPC URL from CDP. And then once that's done, we pick the transaction hash of whatever we've sent on chain or the transaction that we've sent on chain, and then give the user a feedback on the UI that says sending transaction, and the gas that is required is this. So this only happens if this only happens if um, largely we require some gas fee to do this, but now that we've already set up paymaster, then it should be successful. So on the sending transaction, the send transaction, I mean, function, of course we have the two to target address, and then the string which represents the wallet address we're sending to, the data param which is the transaction data, and the OX that is the transaction, not really the transaction, but the wallet address that's going to be receiving funds. And then the status that we are now going to be showing on the user's end is the transaction submitted message that generally just confirms whether the transactions were submitted or not. So it's just more of like a UI feedback that we normally see, payment successful, text that we see on Minisend, on any fintech app that you easily use. So I just thought it that it's gonna be helpful that we just go through a bit of code to see where we can call all these functions, where we can go ahead and see how to apply them on various events, on various points within our UI and within various components of ChainFit. So yeah, I think we've really covered a lot within just this 200 lines of code. So just in case anyone has like a question around how to do this, we're open to like also give feedback and also answer your questions. So yeah, Nelly, you have something? Nelly, do you have something that probably want to add on before we move on?
Not really. I think everything you've actually just gone into detail. No one has an excuse to say they didn't
Yeah.
understand. And also the best batches we are doing this series for best batches too. So you can always go to Basis Africa's GitHub and get all of this. I think we did a pretty good job with creating everything. You could actually just clone it and have it as like a scaffold locally. I don't think I have anything to touch on. I think time is not really on our side, and I'm seeing Vincent is here. He really wanted to say something. So, Chris, I don't know if there's anything you wanted to add uh, on top of that, or is there anything, any part that you wanted to touch on? And then after that, Vin will have the stage. He wants to say something very exciting that I think everyone should hear. So, yeah.
Awesome. I think pretty much we've managed to cover all the primary options that you have for accessing Coinbase Developer Platform. And I feel like with this already covered and the base documentation, which is quite straightforward, you already have like a way in which you can just kick off or like just start off your project from scratch. If it's just building using Paymaster, just building using on ChainKit, or I think the easiest one is just building using Minikit. So Minikit is majorly just a framework for mini apps on base. You just run the npx command, have a scaffold of a mini app already showcased on your UI while running that on local, and then just begin building. So you can play around with Paymaster, you can play around with Trade APIs, you can play around with B2B APIs using the Coinbase e-commerce option. Just get yourself an API, begin making or accepting USDC payments or accepting crypto payments. So largely that's it for CDP. I think I'll only have something to touch on the docs where to just go ahead and click on how to navigate within the base docs, get a particular bit that talks about what we've covered today, basically on the paymaster side. I think this was quite straightforward and quite detailed. And yeah, I think Vin, we're so much happy to have you around. We have Vincent from Adama. And I think, just as Nelly has mentioned, he has something really interesting that he'd like to share with us. I think when you can just go.
Awesome. Thank you so much, guys, for taking us through the session. It's very comprehensive, and I'm so excited about what is happening, putting Africa at the forefront. So, yeah, good news that I'm to share. Jenny, I don't know if you can see my other account. All right. So, what is happening is part of the sessions that you guys are participating on is rallied upon agentic summer season where we're seeing a market shift towards building agents that can self-execute on tasks on chain, and these sessions set spaces to making that happen. So I'll share my screen um, right now. All right. So, John, you can bring it on. Okay. So, Jenga hacks, which is very in line with Base Batches Season 3, which is currently happening, the biggest global hackers platform provided by Coinbase, where you get an opportunity to submit your projects to Base and then coupled up with so many packs. Teams that are selected get 20K in grants, an opportunity to go to San Francisco and prioritize access to the Incubase, which is the now go-to base accelerator program. So, Jenga Hacks, which is part of the sessions that are happening, and we have been having sessions in the afternoon to rally teams to build and submit their projects with us so that we can provide maximum support. So the moment you are in, the world is not waiting. AI agents are already automating industries and routing capital and within the financial space and defining what it means to build software. And you've seen autonomously how that is already happening. And being in East Africa side has every ingredient, and we believe in so much capabilities that developers and builders, innovators have. So the program is a developers density that are solving real world problem with depth and generation of builders who have never needed permission to innovate. And what that means is you now have an opportunity to actually build whatever you want and then deploy it, and your work remains to look for now revenue values and stuff. So that is what has been missing, and a coordinated platform that supports you to continue building these projects. So Jenga Hacks 2026 Agentic Summer is that moment that you don't want to miss. Very tailored support to helping you submit applications to base. So what is Jenga Hacks Agentic Summit? Summer, sorry. It's a 21-day intensity builder program which kickstarted on Monday, running from Monday then all the way to March 11, 2026. It is structured in three interlocking phases: the build phase, the scale, and harvest. So this is a compressed startup build to combine structured technical workshops, IRL meetups, and virtual sessions like this one, where you get to mingle and meet the amazing developers that are building on base, and a direct pathway into submitting to the base batches 2026, which is now the global program. So themes that are running around is AI agents solving critical industry pain points, whether in financial, fintech, health tech, agri-tech, ed tech, with a bunch of partners, Silicon Savannah, Color, which provides great compute and space that we're going to utilize on this coming Saturday for the hacks or in-person builder sprint that you're going to see. So the Coinbase Competition Global Builder Program that funds Accelerator is very key, and we want to take up this opportunity. If you're a student, there's a student track that you can follow and apply, although your deadline is all the way to April. So maximum focus on startups that are already have form and actually innovating around it. So the infrastructure, some of the sessions that are happening, this is one of them. Tomorrow, founder focused session, and then the week closes with the team selection tomorrow to see what teams are building and how best we can help you submit to Incubase. As part of that, teams that are building around trade agents and stuff, you will select top 5 teams to join us at the Adama booth, which is happening at Sarit at the Africa Forex Expo Showcase. So that's a very interesting aspect for you to come and sell to the guys that are interacting with actual markets and get feedback towards your product. So virtual sessions will be announced in series, selection criteria, and also the expected impact. You don't want to miss this movement. because it is putting us at a global stage. Developers that or builders show very good traction. They also get opportunities to be matched with opportunities that is being hired, like with our partners, Color, which you get prioritized access to their AI, um, the AI accelerator, which is you'll actually be paid to build products inside the lab. And if you have a startup that is already running, you'll also have an arrangement with the team. So come on Saturday, see what is going on, the opportunities you can uptake as we continue with the summer, and more sessions will be coming. Thank you, Jenny. All right. So thank you so much, guys, for joining today's session. See you in the next one.
Okay, thank you everyone for joining today's session. I hope you gotten one or two insights on technical setup. So just to summarize it up, I think you should we talked about smart wallet integration, and then you should have a minimum one pay master sponsored flow, and then also you should resolve base names in your UI. So when people connect to your app using the on-chain kit, you can resolve their base names, and then also just use on-chain kit components for your core user interaction. They're not optional. I think they're very fundamental to your app and all. And then I feel like also just make gasless onboarding very a priority as well. So because your first time user should never see a gas fee prompt. If they do, you already have lost like a significant portion of potential users. So set up your master like Chris showed you, and then just polish before you're launching. And I think, yeah, Chris has showed you how to set up, um, have your to set up your on-chain kit, your CDP API key, configuring paymaster proxy and all. So I think, yeah, thank you guys for joining us today. Yeah, and see you in the next session. I think the next session we want to make it a mini app one, because mini apps are also quite dense if anyone is going to build for the mini app track or anything. So yeah, I think see you the next session, and thank you for coming.